Happy New Year. Today is the first day of 2019, and it's the first time I've posted a video in a long time, and I apologize for that. I do want to thank all of you who have, in the last couple of years, subscribed, even though there have not been any new videos. I appreciate your interest and your support more than you could know. And I want to let you know that your interest has been well rewarded, because I am now committed to posting a whole lot more videos. And here's the first one for 2019. It's a good way to start the new year. And on this year, this day that starts the new year, I'm thinking, in fact, the last few months, I've been really obsessed with the topic of connections, of people connecting with each other. And in fact, I'm writing a book on the subject, and I'll tell you a whole lot more about that later as that progresses. In fact, I wrote the November monthly motivator about connections, and so I've been just kind of obsessed with connections, with connecting with people, people connecting with each other, and the importance of that, and not only connecting with other people, but connecting with the important things in your life. And I happen to be thinking today about long distance phone calls. Now, I hope some of you are old enough to remember. Probably dating myself, but we used to have this thing called a long distance phone call. It used to be that, we had, on one hand, we had local calls, which were basically all you can eat. You pay a monthly fee for the phone line, and you can make as many local calls as you want for as long as you want to talk. So we would think nothing of calling somebody right in town and chatting with them for a long period of time if we wanted to. But back 20 years ago or so, we had long distance phone calls, and they were charged by the minute from the phone company. And so we would have to think about making a long distance call, and while we're making it, we realize we're paying by the minute to talk. So we wouldn't usually talk as long. And if we did, we'd run up, a pretty hefty telephone bill. Now, what I was thinking of was this, that back then when there were long distance calls, 25, 30 years ago, I used to do a lot of traveling, a lot of business travel and other travel. And everybody did this. When I would be in an airport in a distant city, and if I knew somebody in that city, I would go over to the payphone and put a quarter in and call that person and have a nice long conversation. And instead of paying 25 cents a minute, I would pay 25 cents for the whole call. And that was an interesting thing, and a lot of people did that. People got in the habit of doing that. In fact, I know people who, even after long distance was a thing of the long distant past, I know people who still would have that instinct when they've got a layover in Chicago or Atlanta or somewhere, would pick up the phone and call somebody there. They might even call from their cell phone. It's just the habit people got into of doing that to save money. And it was because the long distance, the charge was pretty hefty, and so it was not free, and we were paying for that. And so we made it count when we had an opportunity to connect with people. And even when we made long distance calls, they were substantive. We didn't just call and hang on the line and say nothing of any substance. We would save them for special occasions. And but the thing is, now what happens is we've got all this connectivity, this electronic connectivity with each other, with our cell phones that can make calls around the world basically at no cost to anybody who has a phone, and yet what happens is, even though we have this capability, we don't use it. So, I might call my friend in Atlanta when I'm passing through Atlanta, back 30 years ago. Each time I would go through, I would call my friend. Now, even though I can pick up my phone in the comfort of my bedroom and make the call for free, for no additional charge other than my monthly cell phone bill, now, even though I can do it, I don't do it. And the reason is because I can do it anytime I want. It's not precious. And so that kind of brings me to a point that I like to emphasize a lot, which is, if you're not paying for something, it has no value to you. You have to think about that for a minute. But the things that we pay dearly for are the things that we value and treasure. And I'm not just talking about paying with money, but with time, with attention, with emotion, with thought, and, all sorts of, with our actions. The things that we invest ourselves in are the things that are important. So where does this all lead me in the realm of connections? Well, I think I wrote in the Monthly Motivator, connections are necessarily expensive. The connections that matter are the connections that we invest in. And I think that's the reason now, even though we have all this capability of connecting, we can video conference or video call people, and a lot of times we don't. There's a lot of people that that you have been at times in your life been very close to, that you've the only connection you have with them is maybe liking their post on Facebook, which is nothing. When was the last time you called them up and had a nice, long, deep, meaningful conversation? See, that's what we're missing, because we can connect so easily, and because we can connect so superficially and trivially and instantly, we devalue those connections. We trivialize them. And so I'm just putting this out there as something to think about. And that's one reason that I'm committed to adding a lot of new videos this year, because I want to connect with you, and I want to connect with a whole lot of other people on a more substantive level. And I realize what I'm doing here is just kind of a broadcast. It's not a two-way connection, but you have the means to respond to this in the comments section, and I hope you do. And you're welcome to email me, and I would love to connect with you that way as well. So think about that. Think about connections. Think about the connections that you have, the possible potential connections that you could have to other people and to other meaningful things in your life, and how much you value them and how much you're willing to invest in them. You'll get out of life what you put into it, obviously. And so this is your opportunity to put something into it. So Happy New Year again, 2019. Hope it's a great one for you, and we'll see you again real soon.